Hi everyone, I just thought I'd make a quick video about this Truline Jr. reloading press. Just something I kind of came across that it was a good deal, and I started looking into it some more. Couldn't really find a lot of information out there or any videos for that matter that kind of go into depth a little bit on this. So I just thought I'd share my experiences with it. I just think these things are neat. Not only because they still function, you know, these things are a really old design, but they still work. It's just something about using an old tool like this and just kind of going through the motions and seeing how reloading has evolved, whether it's a press or whether it's the ammo itself. You know, and it's just something neat that I actually find fun doing. I've been reloading for probably about over a year now, and going back to this from like a single stage that I have or a Lee progressive press that I have, it's fun for me because you go back and, like I said, kind of like going a little bit back in time. But anyway, I'll take you through the motions of this, explain a little bit more in detail about the features, and load up a couple of rounds so you guys can see how it works. Alright, so let's take a look at the bottom portion of this press. Right here you can see the shell holder, which is called a J-type shell holder. In this case I'm going to be reloading 357s. So 357s and 38 special actually take the number 1 J-type holder, which they're always stamped on the top up here. And these are interchangeable depending on what caliber you want to reload. What you can do is take off this little hex nut right here, the hex screw, and back that off with the Allen key, and these things just pop right off and you can put a different one in there. Same with the primer down here. So what happens is you can change these out. Here I have a large pistol primer tube, as you can see, compared to the smaller pistol primer over there. And what you do is the same type deal. You remove this hex screw right here, and then this thing pops out, and you put the new one in there. On this back side over here, you can adjust the stopping height. Now, I had a kind of an issue with the primer not seating correctly or all the way into the shell. So I went back here to adjust it, and it was already backed out. So what I ended up doing was just putting a washer down here to kind of give it a little bit more room, and then locking that into place with the hex screw, and that gives it the perfect height to put the primer in and flush with the case. So when you go to deprime and resize your case, what you do obviously is you put the shell in here, hold it in there, run it up through the die. And the only issue with this Truline Jr. press is, as you'll see here in a little bit, when the primer it's popped out of the shell, it just comes and falls down to the bottom. That's it's kind of like the only issue. So what I end up doing is just kind of going down there, catching it, and then throwing it away. It's no big deal. And then you put the primer on the priming rod, and then go ahead and bring it down, give it a little pressure going up, and it'll be seated. Now I know a lot of people don't like to prime on the press itself. I haven't had any issues with it. I mean, I just think that not priming on the press is just I guess just a waste of motion when you're going back and forth with these rods, but to each their own, whatever you prefer. Okay, so we're going to move on to the top of the press, where the turret portion is. So I think this is the coolest part of the whole press itself. So these exact dies are the same ones that you would use with your Lyman 310 tool. I think that's pretty cool. I started reloading with about 45 long Colts and 38 specials and 357 magnums. For using these tools, there's plenty of videos out there, so maybe go check them out. I think these are really cool. Not only can you interchange these dies with the 310 tool, you can also put them in your standard 7/8 dies with this little adapter. So if you really wanted to, which I have done just for the fun of it, is install this little adapter into my single stage lead press, and I've been able to successfully reload 38 special, 357s, 45 long Colt, and I just think that's pretty cool. So I mean, at this point, you're probably thinking, why even mess with this with anything like this that's old? And maybe it's for the same reason why we decide to shoot older calibers, older guns. You know, just for the nostalgia of it, and for the feeling of doing it like they did in the old days. So to me, that's pretty fun, and that's why I do it. So anyway, moving on. This is as you can see, this is a 4-stage press. So this would be the resizing and decapping tool. You move it over. Oh, and this goes both ways, by the way. And this would be your neck sizing die. Move it on over. This would be your powder measure. Now, I've read and heard a lot about this powder measure. How it's only designed for black powder, doesn't meter well with smokeless. You know, it is specifically designed for black powder. That might be the case, but I have been successful in getting Hodgkin tight group to measure pretty good out of this. And right now I got it set to 5 grains, and it's pretty accurate. It's within 0.1 grain of what I'm actually looking for, and I'm not going for precision here. You know, just a few plinking rounds, and it's worked pretty good. There's a little trick on the metering screws here. There's a few moving parts in here, and like I said, it's designed for black powder, so there's big cavities that will open up in there. But I found that if you're trying to go for smokeless, especially like tight group, or I haven't tried H110 at all, because H110 is really fine powder. But as far as for tight group, if you seat the bottom portion all the way closed, and you only use the top plate to adjust back and forth, it gives you a pretty decent ability to measure well a powder like tight group. I could probably do a video on that at some other point in time, kind of get a little more in depth in that. But anyway, so this is your powder. Next station would be your bullet seating and crimping die, and that's pretty much it. You can just start cranking them out, and it gives you some really good results. And like I said, I think it's fun. You get into a good rhythm, and you'll be cranking out some bullets fairly quickly, and in a manner, speed, and quality that maybe like that could rival any press of by today's standards. So anyway, I'll show you guys how it works real quick. Crank out a couple of rounds, and we'll go from there. Alright, so as you can see here, I got a few rounds already loaded up. These are my 158 flat nose lead rounds that I cast myself and hand lube. These are straight out of the Lyman Jr press. And as you can see, I mean, the press does a really decent job. It does a good job. I mean, can't really ask for more for something for some technology that's you know, back from the 60s. I think these are when they started coming out, these junior presses. Here's my 160 semi-wad cutter key style bullet. And obviously when you interchange between both of these bullets, you want to make sure you adjust the seating depth. But it reloads both of these bullets, you know, perfectly. So all right, let's get started here. I'm pretty sure most of you guys are familiar with these lubing pads, and I like to use, on this particular press and these dies, I like to use this Lee resizing lubricant. It's worked very well. You need to add some kind of lubricant to these dies because these are not like these modern carbide dies to where no lubricant is required. Even with those dies, I like to add lubricant anyway because you just you know, it does not hurt. So then what I do, I'm pretty sure you guys are familiar with this process here. Right there, just give them a good roll and they're ready to go. Alright, here we go, guys. So obviously first you put in your used cartridge into, spent cartridge into the J-type holder, and so you're going to run it up into the resizing decapper die, and like I said, down here is where it's gonna pop out the primer, the used primer. It just falls right down from the bottom, and there it is. Get rid of that. Bring this down, and what I always do is I expand the neck first before adding the primer, and just for the simple reason of it just gives me a little bit more room to put it in here. Yes, you have to do it one by one, unless there's maybe some other kind of cool, neat little adapter out there that might be able to dispense them and put them in there. But hey, like I said, this isn't for speed. This isn't for you know, cranking out hundreds and hundreds of bullets. This is kind of you know, just for the functionality and for the fun of it. So we just reprimed it. You can see seats it in there pretty good, flush. I'm going to put it back in there, and then we're going to rotate this over to the powder, and let me put this up a little bit so you can see a little more. So this particular powder dispenser, right up in there, bring it up and let it come down. Has a little tap thing here, and you just lift that up, and that's kind of like just tapping it with a screwdriver or anything you want to tap it with, just to kind of shake the powder that gets stuck up in there. And so you can see that we have our powder in there. Like I said, we're doing 5 grains of tight group, and that's what works for my gun. I don't know what will work for your gun, so you do your research before you start doing any kind of reloading. Be safe. Alright, so now pull it over to the bullet seating and crimping die. We're going to put our 158 grain flat nose lead bullet in there. Put it up in there, and you have yourself a finished round. 357. All right. Once you get a good rhythm, you can get a pretty good flow going on these. You know, you're not going to be cranking out hundreds of rounds, you know, to the standard of any modern day progressive press, but you know, you can start doing a steady stream of it. And like I said, are there other better ways to reload out there? Better presses? Yes. Are they a lot faster? Yes. But just for the nostalgia purposes of kind of just having fun with it, because I think reloading should be fun. Just for having fun and everything, this is a great little press to get into, and to be honest, they're not that expensive. I picked this one up actually at an online auction for about, I think I paid $45 for it. There's currently one in my local OfferUp, and they're asking $45 for it as well. There's actually a couple in my local OfferUp, so you never know when you run into one of these. And I like I said, personally, I think they are neat. I will also include a picture of these dies on my Lee single stage press, just so you guys can kind of see how the adapters go in there, and you can still use them. So, which brings me to another point. I mean, if you want to get into reloading, or you want to start out, you don't want to start with, you know, expensive presses and drop a lot of money into one that, and if you're not sure if you're going to stick with it, you can start off with one of these. Like I said, you can start with getting these dies, getting one of these 310 tong tools, one of these, and try it out. You can buy one of these presses, try it out. If you decide you do want to keep going and investing in your reloading gear, and you decide to go to like a Lee or RCBS, with the help of these adapters, you can actually use these same dies on those presses, which, you know, in turn will save you a little bit of money. And there you go. Anyway, guys, hope you guys like it. Like I said, Truline Jr reloading press. Neat little presses. Not that expensive. They're compatible with the Lyman 310 tong tool. With the right adapters, you can put them in your modern reloading presses. Just a cool little press to have. Anyway, I figured I'd include a little bit more information on this and maybe show it in action a little bit, and maybe it'll encourage you to maybe purchase one of these if you come across one. So that's it, guys. If you guys want to see any more, let me know. Message me. And happy reloading. Thanks for watching.